Well, see, Meghan, when she's not invited, she often turns up anyway, and she's just there and stays there. But this time, she obviously didn't dare.
Well, I'm not really surprised at this at all because, let's be honest, Meghan was a D-list actress before she met Prince Harry. And well, their massive break into Hollywood has, in a nice way, it hasn't gone as planned. She's had friends deserting her left, right and centre. She's fallen out with people such as...
Can you imagine? Meghan wanted headlines, but instead, she walked straight into public humiliation. Crashing the Emmy party seemed like her big moment, but oh no, it backfired instantly. The boos, the whispers, the cold stares, every single reaction screamed exactly what Hollywood really thinks of her. This wasn't just a little awkward silence, it was brutal, and it was loud enough for the whole room to feel.
I've made quite sure that she didn't come in, and you can see how her friends are dropping her once upon a time friends who she used very usefully professionally, that don't want anything.
For Meghan Markle, this was supposed to be another one of her carefully staged power moves. You know the type. Calculated, choreographed, designed to remind Hollywood that she still belonged among the brightest, most powerful stars. She thought this would be her moment to shine, to step back into the limelight. But reality, oh, it hit her harder than ever.
She's fallen out with people such as Katy Perry. You know, it's been very...
The HBO Max Emmy nominee celebration, let's be clear, this wasn't some casual cocktail hour. This was one of the hottest tickets in Hollywood, a private gathering where only the most relevant names in film and television brushed shoulders, the kind of room where deals are made, careers are celebrated, and legacies are cemented. And then Meghan waltzed in, uninvited. The second she stepped into that glittering ballroom, the atmosphere shifted. You could feel it in the air. It went from glamour to tension in an instant.
That major Hollywood power brokers are no longer answering Meghan Markle's phone calls personally.
And instead of hearing the applause she might have expected, or at least polite acknowledgement, she was met with groans, sighs, and muffled whispers. Not subtle, not polite, just straight up rejection. People noticed her all right, but not in the way she was hoping for. This was no red carpet moment. This was the sound of Hollywood saying, "We don't want you here."
Nothing. And I don't think she would dare go to Oprah and say, look, you know,
At one of the main tables, packed with Emmy-nominated producers and writers, someone muttered loud enough for the whole table to hear, "Oh no, not her." That single sentence cracked the room wide open. Heads turned, eyebrows shot up, and conversations froze mid-sentence. It was like a spark had ignited, and within seconds, the energy in the room collapsed. And then, the first boos rolled out, and it was brutal.
Failed projects, they're fobbing her off to their underlings.
That's right, this is coming.
Imagine Meghan in that moment. Once upon a time, she basked in royal fanfare, flashing cameras and adoring crowds. But now, Hollywood, her dream playground, was literally booing her to her face. That illusion of control she had always clung to shattered in seconds.
Out of the UK. Rita, this is a conversation you and I've had for years. I guess we could just say thank you for confirming what we've been telling you forever. And that's really that Harry and Meghan, the return.
If Meghan thought she'd walk into a room full of friends, allies, and supporters, she couldn't have been more wrong. This wasn't a cozy gathering. This was Hollywood's elite. Actors, directors, producers, the very top of the food chain. And they weren't here to lend her credibility. Quite the opposite. The second she stepped deeper into the ballroom, it was like an invisible curtain dropped, cutting her off completely from everyone else.
so she's not there. So that's a very, very big cross out amongst the grade A people where she lives. They've decided that she's...
And then came the snubs. Zendaya, yes, Zendaya, who had been happily chatting with a circle of stylists, spotted Meghan in the corner of her eye. Smooth as silk, she spun around and dragged her assistant into a deep, animated conversation, the kind that screamed, "You're not welcome here." Meghan didn't even get a chance to approach.
I understand it, but once you are like that, you've had it, mate. You know, it's very, very hard to climb back, you know.
And she wasn't the only one. Pedro Pascal, one of the most sought-after stars that night, literally excused himself mid-conversation and slipped away to the bar the second Meghan drifted closer. Even stylists and journalists, the people usually desperate for a photo or a quick line, looked away like avoiding eye contact might save them from being dragged into her orbit.
I was talking to someone recently whose father was an executive at Paramount, and she was like, my father...
And let's be clear, this wasn't accidental. This was strategic. An insider later spilled, nobody wanted to be photographed with her. Nobody wanted to be seen shaking her hand. In Hollywood, association is currency, and Meghan's stock has tanked.
endless mistakes. You're never going to get back there. And all the things that are failing as well.
The rejection was glaring. Once, she could float through rooms effortlessly, soaking up attention and praise. But now, her presence was a liability. Meghan Markle wasn't the starlet, wasn't the duchess, she was the unwanted guest. And Hollywood made absolutely sure she felt it.
Her personal relationships with the likes of Oprah Winfrey and Gayle King aren't what they were. So this is...
Here's the truth. Meghan's appearance at the Emmy celebration wasn't just some random drop-in. It was bold, calculated, and designed to generate buzz. Insiders insist her team knew exactly what they were doing, where the event was, what time the stars would arrive, and just how much attention this room would draw.
Netflix, everything is not working out because they haven't given it concentration, they're not skilled, but they think they know how to do everything. And people...
To Meghan, it was the perfect setup. Walk in, dazzle the cameras, reclaim a headline. But her plan had one fatal flaw. She had nothing to celebrate, nothing to contribute, and no invitation to justify her being there. The stunt reeked of desperation. One producer muttered under his breath, "She thinks she can just crash an Emmy party? This isn't a photo op, this is about the work." And that was the whole problem. This night wasn't about publicity stunts, it was about honoring artistry. Decades of scripts, directing, acting, and creative mastery. Meghan? She had none of that to show. What she had was a failed Spotify deal, a podcast rebrand that wasn't gaining traction, and a lifestyle brand so vague even her own fans struggled to explain it. In a room full of people who earned their place, Meghan's presence felt empty. It felt like an insult. Instead of sparking curiosity or admiration, she confirmed what the whispers had been saying all along. Meghan Markle wasn't a player anymore. She was just trying to claw her way back into relevance. And what she thought would be her triumphant comeback quickly turned into the most humiliating night of her Hollywood journey. Meghan's uninvited entrance didn't just ruffle feathers, it threw the entire event into quiet chaos. Organizers had spent months meticulously planning this night. Table placements, seating charts, photo schedules, security protocols. Everything was supposed to run like clockwork. The last thing anyone expected? A former royal turned Hollywood aspirant barging in without clearance. Eyewitnesses said security staff at the entrance huddled in panic. Guards were flipping through digital guest lists on their tablets, whispering into earpieces. One coordinator was heard muttering under his breath into his headset, "She's not on the list. Triple check it." And now here's the dilemma. Do they risk dragging Meghan Markle out in front of Hollywood's A-list, causing an even bigger scandal? Or do they let her stay and quietly deal with the fallout? It was a nightmare scenario. No matter what they chose, it was a lose-lose situation. After tense whispers back and forth, the decision came. Avoid the spectacle, but make sure she didn't steal the spotlight. And that's exactly what they did. Meghan was quietly escorted to a seat near the exit corridor, tucked away from the stage and far from the cameras. Imagine the humiliation. While nominees toasted with champagne at center tables, Meghan was offered nothing more than a discreet glass of water. No red carpet treatment, no press access. She was technically there, but stripped of every privilege that defined the night. Insiders later revealed the move was intentional. They wanted her minimized, sidelined. She wasn't a guest. She was a problem. And honestly, that probably stung even more than being booed. Because for Meghan, the real dagger wasn't just rejection, it was irrelevance. Hollywood didn't just exclude her, they erased her. What made the night even harsher was the unity of it all. Hollywood is usually fake-friendly. Even when stars secretly hate each other, they'll plaster on a smile for the cameras. But this was different. Meghan didn't face a few awkward stares, she faced an entire room united in cold rejection. No fake hugs, no polite small talk, no, "Oh, hi darling, so good to see you." Just rolled eyes, whispers, and cold stares sharp enough to cut glass. One attendee revealed later, nobody wanted to give her oxygen, no attention, no validation. The earlier booing, it didn't escalate. It transformed into something deadlier, indifference, and that's even worse. Conversations resumed around her, but deliberately excluded her. People angled their bodies away from her. Photographers pretended she didn't exist. The nominees toasted champagne, clinking glasses as though she wasn't even in the room. Hollywood had spoken, not with interviews, not with statements, but with complete icy silence. Meghan Markle, in the middle of one of the biggest nights in television, was invisible. And when the night was over, the humiliation only deepened. If Meghan had gotten her way, the next morning's headlines would have been all about her. She probably imagined it already. Meghan Markle stuns in surprise Emmy appearance. Paparazzi photos splashed across media outlets, her name trending on Twitter, a flood of praise about how she commanded the room. But reality? Oh, it was cruel. Event organizers and HBO Max producers made absolutely sure her name never even touched the headlines. She was completely completely cut out. Official press releases? No mention of her. Star-studded photo galleries from Getty and Shutterstock cropped her out. Candid background shots shelved. Even her own team scrambled to push photos of her to agencies, hoping someone would pick them up. Carefully lit shots meant to look like she belonged, but agencies flat out rejected them. One publicist explained why. Nobody wanted to run Meghan's photos from an event she wasn't invited to. It would look like an endorsement. And just like that, the ultimate punishment was delivered: erasure. She wasn't just booed in real time, she was erased from history, as though she had never even been there. And for Meghan, someone who craves relevance above all else, invisibility is the harshest humiliation imaginable. This wasn't just a one-off embarrassment. Insiders are already calling this one of the biggest PR disasters of Meghan's post-royal career. Think about it. She built her brand on control. Netflix documentaries, carefully staged interviews, hand-picked press moments, everything has always been tightly managed, perfectly curated. But here, she was in Hollywood's house, not hers. She had no script, no editing, no protective producers. And when faced with raw, unfiltered reality, Hollywood showed her exactly where she stood. Her failed Spotify deal had already been an embarrassment. Her podcast rebrand under Lemonada Media is still struggling to get traction. Her so-called lifestyle brand, a confusing project nobody really understands. The Emmy crash was supposed to be her big win. Instead, it was the nail in the coffin. Because if you can't win back Hollywood in a room full of its brightest stars, where can you? And here's the real kicker: Hollywood doesn't forget nights like this. In an industry where reputation is currency, Meghan just spent hers, and it bought her nothing but humiliation. She walked in uninvited, desperate to claw back relevance. But she walked out with nothing. No applause, no allies, no headlines, just whispers of pity, annoyance, and the brutal truth: Meghan Markle's star isn't fading, it's already burned out. So let's recap the night that Meghan thought would be her grand re-entry into Hollywood royalty. She crashed the Emmys uninvited. The room booed and groaned at her arrival. Hollywood's elite, from Zendaya to Pedro Pascal, strategically snubbed her. Security minimized her presence, seating her near the exit. She was denied champagne, photos, and privileges. She was erased from official coverage the next day. And in the end, the only headline she got was the one she dreaded most: Meghan Markle isn't wanted. Meghan gambled big, thinking she could hijack Hollywood's spotlight. But instead, she proved exactly what the whispers have been saying for months. She's not a star, she's a hanger-on. And Hollywood doesn't just dislike her, they're done with her. Because in a town built on image and relevance, Meghan Markle's biggest nightmare has already come true. She's irrelevant. And there you have it. Meghan didn't just walk into a party, she walked into a public execution of her Hollywood ambitions. If this was supposed to be her comeback, let's just say it flopped harder than anyone could have imagined.